get the hell out of Dodge.
And that's the brilliant thing, isn't it? Being able to go, here you are, this target, this target, this target, right, in quick succession. Because there's nothing like the people around you disappearing for you to put someone off their game as well. Yeah, look, I mean, look, it looks really good. Look, I mean, anything at this point, anything that gives them extra capability, right?
Oh, sorry. And then, David, really quick. And then we saw that the Ukrainians now have been making like this armored personnel carrier out of, I think what it is, a T-64 body, if I'm not mistaken. And once again, using something that they couldn't upgrade as a tank, right? But are now using as an armored personnel carrier. And obviously that's going to have a lot more protection because it was originally a tank than your M113. But remember, it's still better than what we saw during the Kharkiv offensive, where we were seeing the Ukrainians needing to use SUVs and pickup trucks. So once again, it's still an upgrade on what they had previously.
Yeah, I mean, a huge upgrade, right? And it's utilize what's available to you. What can you if you can do that, you're in a winner, right? And look, I mean, I remember watching it was the very start. I think it was at the end, towards the end of whoever that is. Yes,
I think it's Ryan
Ryan with an alarm.
Yeah, well, I gotta. Yes. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, guys.
Yeah.
Same shit, different day.
Yes. I was saying. So I watched it was an engagement between some Ukrainian BMPs in Kherson, right next to the Antonovsky Bridge, in actual fact, and some Russian troops, and the guys inside were getting injured because the bullets were going through. Right, you're going, yeah, no. That's not good. So pretty much anything like that's going to be a very unsafe place to be. Right. So we're going to go to Denjon. Then, oh no, I lied. Dennis, it's you first, isn't it?
Dennis
I got it completely
Dennis was
wrong.
Definitely first. And then we go to
Yes,
Finland.
Dennis.
It's okay if Denjon wants to go first. That's fine. I can wait. I have.
No, Dennis. It's over to you.
All right. Thank you, David. I just want to say I was reading an article the other day where the Ukrainians were taking like old T-60s and taking off the gun and up armoring the front and adding a taking out the gun and all the ammunition obviously leaves a lot of room inside, and they up armored the front. I guess the back and the sides are a little thin, but they put a couple of machine guns on it, and I guess they're using that for forward assaults right now. But that was just something I read the other day. I think it was military news. I'm not sure which one, but that actually wasn't my question I wanted to ask. But I was reading Colonel Jeff's article today. He retweeted about Greece. I'm sorry, not Greece. Turkey getting upgrades for all their F-16s. I'm kind of ambivalent about the Turkish government. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I was just wondering if anybody else had any opinions about that. Thank you.
Oh, Axel, do you want to go first? Okay, Axel's not commenting. So I hadn't heard, but it's good information, right? If they are getting all these upgrades, then it sounds like Erdogan's blackmail's working in some way, isn't it? He's starting to get the stuff he wants. He's not going to get those F-35s, but he's getting other stuff, isn't he? And so someone somewhere is falling into that trap. Oh yeah, yes, George.
Really quick, I thought the article said that the State Department was green lighting it, but I don't know if Congress has green lighted. So I haven't heard that getting through Congress yet, and that's still a sticky wicket, as you Britishers say, because I'm not sure that there's a lot of people in Congress that feel the same way as the State Department. So I don't know if it's a done deal yet. I have to look into it.
Oh, well, that's really useful. See, George, because normally in the UK, when they go, something's going to happen, right? The government, I keep on forgetting you've got different parts, right? So they do it. So maybe that's just the State Department just putting it out to Congress and going, yeah, okay. And then in the knowledge that Congress will just go, no, you can't have it. That would be interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's the case. Unless something happened in Congress and I missed it, I think that's the case right now. I think so the State Department's green lighting it, saying that they don't see an issue with it, but there's a lot of senators that are like really pissed off. And we're talking about on both sides of the aisle, especially what I call McCain Republicans, because McCain he couldn't stand there again forget it. He just couldn't stand the guy. So I don't know if they're going to convince those guys and they're going to have the votes to get this thing passed.
And here's the thing, right? Rewarding people for bad behavior is not the way to stop bad behavior.
Exactly. And it's not only the bad behavior in the beginning of this war and stuff like that in regards to Ukraine, but it's also their behavior in other areas, the trade with Russia, and their antics with their fellow NATO members. So there's a lot of things that have rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and I don't know if anything can happen, But right now, I don't know if those guys would be willing to vote.
Well, that is interesting. If Dennis, if you got the article, feel free to send it to me. Because I'll be interested in reading that, because I don't even know what the updates to those F-16s would be. So that'd be interesting. So right, so I can see other hands. I've changed my mind. I'm going to go to Pauli first, because I suddenly realised that in actual fact, Pauli, you're outnumbered, aren't you, at the moment? Because there's more Swedes than Finns on.
That is correct. Well, depending how you calculate what's the ratio. Yeah, so then John, I understand that Finland being NATO is a tough beat, but let's be serious. You guys have IKEA, Abba, and Surströmming. So let us cherish this moment for a while, few months that we are in NATO. Because you have everything. You have the royal flush. That's my take on the matter. Thank you.
David, can I just say something there? Because you're speaking about the ratio. It's me, one Swede, and then you have John.
Go on.
Yeah,
put it in.
Yeah, that's me, one full Swede, and then John
Shut
is
him down.
then John is half a Swede because he's from Skåne. He's half Danish, half Swedish.
He's a child of occupation.
You could say that. Old occupation, but still.
But you did free yourself from those kings who ever always failed to pay the piper.
This is true.
Anyway, then John, to you have to have your right of reply.
Yeah, I lost it. I mean, there's so many things there. But okay, so first to 1 to 2, yes, you're right, and also remember that we might be the fifth column, and if we are, then we are in NATO. So better watch out. And then to Pauli, yes, we have Abba, we have IKEA, we have Volvo, Saab. Yeah, Saab we have, of course. I was thinking we have the car, but the real Saab we still have them. Scania, SKF, ASEA, well, not anymore, but anyway. But you have Moomin and Emma Numinen, so I mean that's not too bad. And Nokia as well, still making tires and rubber boots, very famous. And I completely forgot why I put my hand up. But yeah, there you go.
that forgetting things is not something that I'm not unaware of, right? So as you'll know, right? What's my name? Where was I born? How old am I? I've no idea, right? And Ryan, you've turned up, but you haven't put your hand up, which I want to point out is very rude. So I'm just going to go to you, Ryan. It's your turn to spell. Well, yes, well done. That's it.
Does that
Over
make
to
you feel
you.
better?
Yes, much better.
Sorry for barging in there with sirens and no commentary, but I think it's important for everybody who's listening to understand just how frequently that happens around here. I cut off earlier this morning while Verlaine was still talking, and I had to go run some errands and drop off some medical supplies. After that, I went to a humanitarian center and loaded up a vehicle with probably way too much cargo, but we'll make it work. And I'll update you on everything else in a day or two. At least where the cargo's going. Also, I was given a very specific list of medications the other day that were in high demand at a particular hospital, and through some conversations with one of the medics we support, I found out that there may be a surplus of those items that have been delivered to a stabilization point or a medic, and they're not really usable in a stabilization point or a medic setting. And we might have solved two problems at once, and I will be able to get those reallocated or redirected to somebody who's very much in need of them. So all in all, not a bad day.
Oh, that's very good news. Very good news.
You'd be surprised what you can get accomplished by just talking to people around here.
That's sales, talking to people, right? And sales, in actual, it's the thing that keeps companies afloat. So yes, sales, talk to people.
I've always been on the other side of the desk, but I've definitely dealt with my fair share of slimy oil field salesmen and some excellent oil field salesmen as well. So yeah, people want to know how much you care before they care how much you know, and I don't really have to convince anybody how much I know or how much I care around here. Everybody I run into out here obviously cares in equal proportions, and luckily for me and for everybody else, they're always willing to help, and can't think of anybody I've run into out here who isn't more than willing to help out and lend a hand where they can, or point you in the right direction if they don't know how to help. Like I've said many times before, as gut-wrenching or depressing as it was to see some of the stuff going on a year ago, it also restores your faith in humanity when you see how much people care and how much random people want to do for individuals they might not even know. And that goes for both people here volunteering on the ground and all the generous donors and listeners of MriyaReport who come in clutch at just the right moment, more times than I can count.
Sorry, I was very rudely. I say very rudely. Someone DM'd me. So whilst you were talking, I took that opportunity to read the DM. So you're not talking now. So I assume you finished. I can't comment because I wasn't listening. At which point I will go to Dan John.
Not a problem at all.
Thank you very much, Ryan.
Okay, yeah, thanks, David. So actually, my memory came back. What I wanted to say before, because you were mentioning before, not you, David, but it was talked about that Ukraine was using was it T-62 or 64 as some kind of troop transport, armored troop transport, which is great. And then it was mentioned that it's better than the pickups and the SUVs they are using now. Obviously, they have other stuff as well. But the very fact that they have to use pickups and SUVs, it makes me furious. And I wrote the tweet about this before. I mean, Ukraine, on the western border of Ukraine, almost surrounding Ukraine, actually, you have the richest nations in the world. Ukraine is a peaceful, democratic country, and all around it, free, rich nations, and still some of the fighting has to be done in donated pickups and SUVs. It's despicable, to be honest. Makes me so angry. Think about it.
Oh, it is really. It does, doesn't it? Right, because survivability is important, right? If you're going to a war in a pickup, even if it's a nice pickup and the rest of it, it's not a vehicle that's designed to keep you alive, right? So, my ears picked up when you said, "Oh, that they were swapping things," because survivability is the important thing, right? That's incredibly important, right? And a pickup, which in fact, a pickup going over a anti-personnel mine is going to have a problem, right? So whereas T-64 isn't. And keeping people alive, and more importantly, having the vehicle. So and this is, yeah. So I meant to say this ages ago. The important part about this was, so I've always thought. So when we've been when people have been fundraising for things like pickups, I've always thought a pickup's lifespan is a week, right? Then why aren't we fundraising to get more APCs in, right? Because the APCs are going to last considerably longer, and it probably work out to be a more effective survivability, and the length of it, the duration of its lifespan would probably be longer. And it's important that we get these things in, because right when they finish things, and this is often, as I read, part of a problem is that when people they've gone there in a pickup, they've left the pickup wherever it is, 6 kilometers away, and the rest of it, and they come back and there's no pickup because it's been blown up by a loitering munition or something else like that, right? So you need to want people to be able to get in closer into the front lines and know that the vehicle's going to be likely to be around, right? Because you can put it elsewhere, it can go all over the place. So I'm really this T-64 thing, I'm going, yeah, keep people alive and give them much more firepower on top of it.
And this is, by the way, if I just may say this, because David, this is very important. Pickups and APCs are not mutually exclusive. The Ukrainian armed forces from time to time run their pickups into the ground, because they do run a lot of them in the rear edge. But those which go to the front lines, they are used up very quickly. As you said, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the most. But they do need them, because they need to distribute their forces, because they simply do not have otherwise air mobility. They simply cannot relocate forces as quickly as the US Army would do with a lot of helicopters. They just can't. And as we have failed to supply them with the right kind of air mobility, and as we have failed to provide them in the past with the right APCs, they do not have ground and air mobility at all in the format as necessary, which is why currently we're literally constantly running behind the bus in order to catch up.
Yeah, and that's really. Oh, sorry, Danger. I'll let you go in a minute. And it's very frustrating, isn't it, when you see this, because you go, why, right? Because when we go back to that, over $500 billion we've spent on subsidizing energy, and you suddenly go, right, but we can't get that kit. Then John.
Yeah, and the infuriating thing is not that they are using these vehicles per se. I mean, it's the fact that they are using donated vehicles. Private people, I mean, private citizens are actually collecting money to get those to get money and buy them off the the market and donate them to Ukraine. And they shouldn't have to. That's the thing. That's why I say Ukraine is surrounded by the richest nations in the world. Well, among the richest nations in the world. And they shouldn't have, our government should do it. We can afford it. It would cost nothing to do this, to give them decent vehicles. And even if it's pickups they need, then it shouldn't come from private people. Even though it's a good cause, obviously I don't deny people doing it. That's not what I mean, but they shouldn't have to. And that's what makes me, actually pisses me off, to be honest.
Yeah, because this is something that we could easily have done, right? So easily done. Yeah. If we go round the Europe and the number of IFVs or APCs that we had, right? And would you even go? Let's just forget about the United States. Just within Europe, we could have done this very easily, which is the tragedy of what we're talking about. Yes.
Raver. And in the meantime, whilst Raver is...
hey, everyone.
There you go.
Sorry.
Are you
Yeah,
developing
damn
disease?
button disease, buttonitis. So
I have that as well, Raver.
On the concept of pickup trucks, yes, we could have done a whole lot more. Governments could have done a whole lot more. But I wonder what the not, and it's something about I try to tag every day, is the knock-on effects. Pickup truck donations are really visible, and it's something that politicians see. They know how many trucks are flowing into Ukraine, and it's giving as a pressure campaign. And I wonder how much support those pickup trucks have secured politically because they are so visible. They're a very public pronouncement of where public sentiment is.
Oh, we appear to have lost Axel. Yeah, look, they are very, very public. Oh, right. Oh, I thought you were going to answer.
No, from time to time, I'm quite happy if you, Waldorf, actually answer the question which is designated for your specific setup.
I don't think so. I think he was asking you. But anyway, but yeah, Raver, it's it's very easy to track. I guess, and if the new ones, right? So there'll be the other part is when these donations come, someone's economy somewhere is getting a bit of help as well, right? But yeah, very visible, knowing it, people seeing it. When you can point to 20,000 pickups were crowdfunded. That's also something a stick to poke our politicians with and saying, why are we doing this? Okay, so I'm going to favour Nick here for the time being. Nick.
Hideous error, as usual, David, to favour me. No, I was going to say, of course, the government should be doing more and they should be sending the big stuff. But it reminds me a little bit of the discussion in the UK, and I've seen it in other countries where people raise money for hospitals and or for little bonus things for hospitals, and people say, well, the health system should pay for that. But there's always something that the system won't pay for. And there's always going to be upgrades that individual soldiers would like, better equipment. So let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater, even though the bathwater is enormous and the baby is very small. The Ukrainian government should be issuing the Ukrainian army with the money that should be made available by the West in the form of loans, in the form of bonds, in the form of gifts or whatever. The Ukrainian army should be buying a great deal of this equipment and if necessary, give them the money to do so. Whether or not the actual equipment should be sent, and particularly things like pickups, They should be buying it on the world market. I think I read that at the start of the full-scale invasion, there was a sudden shortage of fuel tankers, like fuel tanker trucks, in Europe, because Ukraine bought them all up. And Ukraine's reserves of diesel are basically sitting in 15,000 trucks scattered all around the country, which makes it invulnerable to air attacks. But down at the level of the individual soldier will get whatever's on general issue from the stores, and every soldier will have their own list of stuff they like. A better night sight, better kinds of socks, and the point being, some will like some things and some will like other things. It's not a question of, oh well, let's just give the best thing to everybody, because there will be a lot of personal preference. And so I think there is a huge, and this is the plug, I think there is a huge space for both fundraising efforts like what we do here at MriyaReport to send to send money so that stuff can be bought, fundraising efforts like Maria Aid, who buy stuff and send it. And the further down the granularity line you go, down to the level of individual soldiers and small units, the more relevant that is, and the less we should expect, particularly outside governments, to do something. And I don't think any of us expects the Danish or French or British or Slovak government to be sending socks. So while completely agreeing with the point that was being made, as you go down that granularity level, the role for individual contributions and or just money becomes more important. So I just wanted to sort of underscore that whatever the government does, like I said, in a hospital, the government, in any country's health system, the government will provide X and Y and Z to people in hospital, and maybe it doesn't provide flowers, and it's perfectly legitimate to raise money so that people can have flowers on their ward. And it's not an indication that your country's health system is terrible if it doesn't provide flowers on the ward, or if it doesn't pay the petrol expenses of people who go to visit with lonely people who are patients in hospital. There will always be more that we can do, regardless of how good the system is doing. And again, not to detract in any way from the central point, which is, yes, Western governments should be sending enormous numbers of vehicles.
Yes, and that was my point, really. There are some things that shouldn't be, that you shouldn't have to be relying on funds, fundraising and crowdfunding to do, right? Things like level 4 body armor plates. That stuff should be purchased en masse by by Ukraine, and it should be distributed en masse to every single person out there. Right.
There is, of course, the question of whether enough is actually literally available on world markets. But given that slight limitation within the limits of what's available and what can be bought, yes, I agree. And again, it should actually be being bought by Ukraine, and the Ukrainian Defense Ministry should be specifying it. And if the one thing that's missing is money, then that is something that the West ought to be even better at giving than vehicles, because we are rolling in money. And that's how it should be done. The Ukrainians know exactly what they need. They know exactly what the right characteristics of this armor are. They know how many of each individual size and shape, and I don't know how many parameters there are. But we tend to think of it as, okay, Germany's going to send tanks because you can't go out and buy tanks on the world market. But if you can buy body armor, because presumably it's out there, we need to make sure that what they're getting, and this is something I haven't really seen emphasized a great deal. We've seen individuals paying money. We've seen individuals sending stuff. We've seen governments sending stuff. But what I want to hear more about is governments, and the EU is doing this, but other governments as well, just saying, we couldn't think particularly of what to ship from Canada, and it's a long way. So we've just sent the Ukrainian Defense Ministry $100 million. That's a contribution.
Well, by the way, there's enough plates generally available, and they can be easily produced. The production capacity for this in the West is not limited at all. On the contrary, it is a matter, and now it comes, of orders. The orders have to be done by governments in the West on the basis of information from Ukraine. So not much different from what you said, but in terms of capability, capacity, and availability, we have huge amount of stocks. We have massive amounts of stocks in that regard, including modern plate armor.
But again, this is a problem that can be solved with that very, very, very simple commodity, money.
Political will.
And
political will. It needs the orders from the Western governments. They're not doing this. They're not ordering enough. Don't forget, the German government, as well as the French government, as well as the Italian government, are not even ordering for their own armed forces enough.
What, even the non-consumable stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
But you're completely right, Nick. Don't get me wrong. I was not trying to scold you. On the contrary, I think you're absolutely right. We should be doing this 100%.
Yes, and it is the thing that irritates all of us. I'm going to go back to you, Raven, and we'll go back to Den John. Raven.
Yeah, I would like to hijack the MriyaReport audience real quick. Mark Hamill is being subjected to a bot attack. So if everybody could pop over to his thread and lend some support, that would be great. He committed the sin of doing a Zoom call with somebody who had a Ukrainian blood and soil flag with a Kolovrat in the background. And now the Russian bots are accusing him of being a Nazi. So if people could pop over and lend him some support, that would be great.
Yes, I saw that. Already done it. But
who's this?
Star Wars.
Oh, Mark Hamill.
Yes.
Ah, okay. No, that's what I thought I heard. And I was going to say, I didn't quite hear, so I thought, can we have this person's Twitter handle? But I can find Mark Hamill. Oh, yes.
I believe the link to the actual thread you can find on my Twitter page. I called for an Article 5 in support because he's being hammered by bots right now.
I think. Well, I saw it. So hopefully many others have, and many more. When Nick tweets it out, there'll be a flood of people supporting, I'm sure. Sorry, Nick. Den John.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I specifically picked vehicles because that's not patches and I don't know, tourniquets and so on. I mean, that's vehicles. They shouldn't be crowdfunded. And yeah, I get what you say, Nick, about sometimes you do some crowdfunding for hospitals, but not cancer treatment. You do the small stuff. That's why I picked vehicles. Vehicles is not something they should rely on us privately donating, I think. That was my point.
And a very valid one, right? So I was just going to go think back to, yeah, I mean, just having enough of these vehicles, getting people around. But I mean, here you are, they're scaling up. So and yeah, probably not widely knowledgeable the numbers as to how many numbers the Ukrainians now have. It's got to be past 500,000, I guess. That are now, yeah.
And they have actually requested vehicles, right? I mean, this is the thing. They have specified what they need. And then they haven't got it yet. Well, we don't know that, but it doesn't look like they have it yet.
Yeah, we just haven't been quick enough, have we? Weirdly, right? Because we're quick about other things, but we just haven't been quick enough about this. We need to start learning this because it's going to be something that we really need to get our act together a little bit more, because we want Ukraine to still exist when the war is finished. So, oh, the lovely Filane is requesting. 1 second, Filane.
I can drop if the panelist.
No, it's I think I think Filane, I'm going to send you the invite. Click on it from that. But Mr. M, if you would talk about something whilst I send the invite, that would be wonderful.
I don't know what to talk about, David. So that doesn't help you in any way. But Raven has something to tell.
Hey, Mr. M, I was going to ask you, how goes the impacts of the Black Sea grain deal on food for like Northeast?
Sorry, you were cutting away a bit. What I got was what's the grain deal doing for, and the last thing I didn't get. Raven, if you can repeat it.
I think Ravers, we've lost him for a moment. But anyway, I've got something to talk about. Which is to talk about. Let's find it. Come on, where am I? Oh yes. Interesting. There was this is a little tidbit of news that went out at a concert in Moscow. Singer of a group, Naive, Alexander Ivanov, went on stage in a T-shirt that read Masha Maskaleva, and talked about her case. This is the little, the young, I think, is she an 8-year-old who drew a picture of "Stop the War," and then finds that she's going to be dispatched to some horrible boarding school, and her father might go to prison or something. So it's interesting. No one's saying he's been arrested yet, but I presume it'd be safe to assume he probably will be arrested, won't he? The singer, because obviously the girl has already been arrested. Verlaine, oh, you are up as a speak. Wonderful. I see you now. I see you. Yes, exactly. So it's like jam bowl. This is I see you, right? So do you want to say something?
Yeah, I think I haven't been in this time zone for a day, and this should be awkward probably for some people who haven't seen me in a while, but I've been coming here every day since the beginning of the fundraising effort. It's a little bit hectic because I can't allocate the same time every day, so I apologize, but I'm trying whenever I can just to express my gratitude and just say thank you for your unwavering support. And I've seen how many people have shared today's thread, how many people wished happy birthday to Kay, to Horhona. I passed it on, and I'm going to be passing them as well tomorrow because some people are still rating, and I want to have like a full set. Maybe I'm just gonna make a video for her with everything because it's in my timeline, so it's easier for her. Plus she needs to have some English learning sessions from time to time. She's been complaining that her skills have degraded in terms of English language, I mean, because she's been dealing with other things and language kind of stepped down in your toolbox. But anyways, thank you so much for supporting the fundraiser for the Rubish Brigade, for my brigade. Spoiler alert, I will be bringing at some point, hopefully it's going to be a good tradition for a couple weeks, one of the best drone operators we have in our Recce element, call sign Orcha. He has expressed a great desire to into the with the kitty. I will keep you updated. I don't know exactly the date because they are undergoing training, but I will definitely drag him into the space because he doesn't have a way out. I will just lock the door in my apartment.
Lock him in.
Spoiler
You
alert.
can't escape. It's the way forward, Verlaine.
No, he can't. He has the keys, but he can't escape my influence. No, he can't. Anyways, yeah, he's more than willing to communicate. Obviously, I'm gonna explain to him how things go here, and we will see with his schedule, my schedule, the schedule of the MriyaReport, and we can try to come and boost, hopefully, the fundraising effort. As for those of you who haven't heard me in a while or haven't heard me at all, my name is Verlaine. My call sign is Verlaine or Sveta. I am the senior language assistant slash interpreter for the Canadian Armed Forces in Ukraine. Now it's kind of like former, because the Canadian Armed Forces are no longer in Ukraine. They are somewhere in the UK training Ukrainian troops, and I'm still in Ukraine as an interpreter and as a volunteer and as a diligent citizen and then an official part of Rubij unit, who I have decided to dedicate my whole existence at this point. Plus, the help for the defense forces is also on me, so I'm doing that. I am also, according to the website, a co-founder of MriyaReport. I think I'm more like an inspiration for that. I don't know. Like I think that's too much credit if you believe that I'm a co-founder. I gladly accept it, but I feel it like I'm not worthy of that title. And I've been hosting spaces for couple months at some point. Yeah. So, anyways, I am posting these days about my unit because I feel like the war has been dragging for so long that there's no point in hiding anything which can be, well, can be found on the internet. I'm gonna just um, post some OPSEC safe information about me, about the brigade, about uh, my friends, a part of my family, my second family, and the order doesn't really matter in this case. And we are doing this for an honorable mission. I'm fundraising for the needs of my brigade at this point. Obviously, we don't have the set goal because the needs are overwhelming and we can't keep up, so we need your help. And hopefully, we'll be able to satisfy some of the needs, and eventually, maybe we're gonna find someone who knows someone who can help with something. That's how it usually works. So, in my profile, there is a pinned tweet about the whole fundraiser and about my brigade, and it's like there is a thread with the threads. And I also post some information about individuals. It just happens that today is birthday of my one of my closest friends. Her name is Hristina. Okay. We call her Kudrava because she's curly. That means curly in Ukrainian language. But her call sign is actually Horhona, which is Medusa Horhona, because Horhona had these snakes instead of her hair, and she kind of froze and stoned her enemies or whoever looked at definitely what K can do. She's deadly as hell when needed. She's having connection
Host problems.
issues. Oh Lord. Anyways, in case we disappear, we're gonna start the space real quick. That's how it usually goes. So just reconnect. So we are running this fundraiser, and if you wanna hear more about it, you might follow MriyaReport Nest. And if you have a chance to donate, I would highly appreciate. If you have a chance to share the information, thank you so very much. It's a great help for us as well. It helps us to spread the word about the defense forces. It helps us to keep us sustainable, and it also helps my troops at the front line to feel that they are heard, they are seen, and they matter. So thank you for doing this. And if you have already shared the tweet, just stay updated. I'm gonna keep on posting some information about my guys. And as I mentioned, this weekend or next week, I all the time is really like blurry for me. I'm gonna bring with me to the panel Ocha. Um, you've seen him on a lot of different photos. It's the one with the dozen of drones in front of him. Zelensky even posted his photo. It's gonna be that guy. He's